Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to part 7, which should conclude this series on the easy solution to solve the Rubik's Cube. Now I'm not going to start from scratch just because we got a little bit to get through, but where we left off on part number 6 was the correct positioning of the edge pieces. Okay. Now I didn't show you all the possibilities, and I kind of went through things a little quick, so just kind of a quick review on that at least before we get on to the new material of solving the cube, the last step to solve everything, which in our sequence of events is actually the orientation of the bottom edges, which will ultimately solve the final step of the cube. In both, I brought in a second cube here just to show some of the other possibilities that exist for this step. So on the cube on the left here, this cube is actually, they're both in the same state, if you will. In this case, this cube represents the example where there's only one bottom edge piece that's in the correct position. We're not even worried about orientation yet, just as a review of part 6. Okay, so in this case it's the one case, which means that the blue face would be our front face to perform the open-close sequencing again. So again, going over it a little fast, but this is where I'm flipping between the blue and the white faces as my front face. Okay, so every time I open, I'm actually going to want to be on the white face. So if you're more comfortable, flip to the white face and then open, and keep the white face as your front face. And then it's your bottom face clockwise. Okay, and then when you close, you want to be on the face that was your front face, so the blue face in this case. So we're going to close. And then what it is it's bottom double. Okay, and then we want to open again. So on the white face, we're going to open, bottom clockwise, single rotation, and then we're going to close. Okay, so now in this case you can see that we're still in the one case. We're looking for the 4 case. When you get to the 4 case, i.e. all bottom edges are positioned correctly, we're done this step. Okay, so I'm going to keep going on the blue. So again, I'm just going to do it my way, which is rotate 2 and back up 1 instead of the old flip and then rotate. Okay, so it's the same thing. Okay, and now by continuing to do that sequence, we now get into the 4 case, where the 4 edges are now positioned correctly. And now we just have to orientate them to complete the cube. So same thing here. The cube on the right now represents the 0 case, where you can see that the bottom corners are positioned and orientated, but none of the bottom edges are positioned. In this case, we're just going to pick a face, doesn't matter which one, eeny, meeny, miny, red, okay, and then it's the same sequence, so it's open, bottom clockwise, close, bottom double, open, bottom clockwise, and close. Okay, so now looking around, now from the 0, you should always go to the 1 case, if not the 4 case. Okay, so no, 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 yes, so now it's going to be blue. So again, open, bottom clockwise, close, bottom double, open, bottom clockwise, and close. Okay, and now you can see that we're in the 4 case. So just like over here, if I rotate it like that, okay, sorry if I match the colors. So blue, there we go. So the blues, okay, are positioned correctly. The reds are positioned correctly. Greens and oranges. The only thing that's different is obviously which combination is correct and incorrect. So now in this case, this is where we're looking for patterns again. And I was hoping that one of these would produce a different pattern on the bottom, but they both produce the same. Which is, again, what we're looking for is all of the yellow pieces now. Okay, now there's 3 possible patterns here. The possible patterns are, I was hoping again to show you another one, but apparently I can't. The 3 possible patterns are what I refer to as the upwards right arrow. Okay, so if you kind of orientate it like that without getting too much glare from the lights. Okay, it looks like an arrow. Okay, we want to orientate this arrow to the upper right, so it's pointing here because we can point it to the upper left, point it to the bottom left, and point it to the bottom right. So you want to orientate it so the pattern is to the upper right. And you guessed it, that means that this is going to be our front face, which is green. Okay, the other 2 patterns are simply going to be what's referred to as the H, which is pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to have all those is yellow, yellow, and yellow. So in that case, this one and this one would not be yellowed. Okay, so we have the H. In the H case, it's simply you want to pick either face, okay, that is on the open H side. Okay, which means that it would either be this face. Okay, if the H again was this way, it'd either be this face would be our front face, or this would be our front face. Okay, and then the last one is the X, which is none of the edges. They're positioned correctly, okay, but none of them have yellow on the bottom. All of the yellows would be on the sides here. Okay, in that case, it's any face. Pick any face in the X. Okay, so that's probably the easiest one. The end goal is to actually get to this pattern, which is, in the thousands of times I've solved the cube, using elementary ways is how I started using basically this exact same procedure. Is this upper right hand arrow is very common. The H is, I'd say, second most common, and then the X would be probably the least. Now that's somewhat subjective from my experience, but that's why you guys are watching this. So we're looking for the ultimately to get to the upper right hand arrow. Okay, and in this case, the upper right hand arrow, we flop it down, and this is our front face. Okay, now once again, can I do this? I don't even know if I should. Maybe I should have written this down. This sequence is the biggest one that you guys have to remember. Now once again, I've tried to make it a little bit more intuitive with regards to, it's another open and close type sequence, just like what we did before. And we always use, if we follow my logic where we flip between what's originally the front face and the white face, if we keep flipping for open on the white, close on the original green in this case, if we follow that, we're always making moves on the bottom layer again. Okay, it's just, well, which one and how many do we do and things like that. So if I was to lay this out, okay, and I guess I will one time, it would be, the sequence is, we have to open and close, so it would be open, close, open, close, open, close, I believe. So however many that is. So there's like 18 some odd turns in this sequence. That's where it's, I prefer obviously to use my method. It's a little easier to remember. So what it would be, politically correct, always using the green as our front face, would be right, positive, right clockwise, left counterclockwise, front clockwise. Okay. One thing to remember is that this first move here, after doing the sides, is the only clockwise rotation that you guys will do. Everything else is either doubles or it's a negative or counterclockwise rotation. Okay, so those are the first three again. Okay, so right clockwise, left counterclockwise, front clockwise. So that's the same thing as doing open on the white face. Okay, then it would be right counterclockwise, left clockwise, bottom counterclockwise. Okay, right clockwise, left counterclockwise, front counterclockwise, right clockwise, counterclockwise, pardon me, left clockwise, bottom counterclockwise, right clockwise, left counterclockwise, front double. Okay, and that should bring the white back up. And then it's simply right clockwise, left, right counterclockwise, left clockwise. Now in that case, so what's going to happen is it's like, well, what did that do? The pattern's still the same, but it looks like it actually took me one step back because now my edges are not positioned correctly. I'm back to the one case, okay, and that's exactly correct. But the trick is that now, so you want to go back a step, okay, to the last video on that sequence, and we look at, so we're like, okay, we're in the one case again. Okay, but what's going to happen is that if you come from the case where the bottom edges are all positioned correctly, okay, and you have the upper right hand arrow pattern, okay, and you perform the sequence I just did, of which I'll do again in a second here, what's always going to be is actually it's going to be the face on the right is going to be the only bottom edge that is positioned correctly. It'll actually be orientated correctly as well. So now what we do is if we do the previous part 6 pattern, which is simply the open, okay, bottom positive or bottom clockwise, close, bottom double. Okay, again, notice that I'm flipping between faces. Open, bottom clockwise. Now when we close this, you'll now notice that the cube is complete. Okay, and that's always how it will be. So one more time, going from our, so once we get to the end of part 6, which is the correct positioning and orientation, pardon me, positioning